What's going on, everybody? This is an episode from the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast. Do you like podcasts and you want to see the full podcast? Make sure you check out the No Gimmicks Needed Wrestling podcast on all your podcast platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, among many others. But you're listening to the episode right here on YouTube, so make sure you hit that like button and below, and make sure you hit the subscribe button to NC Studios and NC Level Up for all your gaming needs. This is the Nerd Coalition. Enjoy the show. I was sitting there thinking to myself, man, what we gonna talk about this week on the podcast, because we're not at SummerSlam just yet, so we can't do no predictions. And I said, so nothing really been dropping on any of the other wrestling brands, and we didn't get no email questions, unfortunately, this week like we did last week, so that's kind of a bummer. But WWE said, never fear, Johnny Ace is here, and they say what?
They get free.
And he said that WWE released another superstar this past Saturday, and the superstar happened to be, who do y'all guys think it was? You think it was somebody, you think it was Dolph Ziggler finally? No. Or do you think it was that guy they got from Saudi Arabia? No. You think it was that stupid guy with the jacket? No. You think it was Kona Reeves? Remember that name? No. It was none of these people. WWE released Bray Wyatt. Yes. Bray Wyatt, the Fiend Bray Wyatt, got released this past Saturday when they was already rumored to have him coming back in August, most likely probably for SummerSlam. The last time we seen Bray Wyatt or the Fiend was the night after WrestleMania 36 at a Firefly Funhouse segment when they killed the Frog.
36
was
37.
37. Damn, we had 37 at WrestleMania 37. That was the last time we seen Bray Wyatt, which was the night after doing the Firefly Funhouse, and we haven't seen him since. And Bray has been patient on Twitter. He hasn't said much of anything, but they future endeavored this man.
Mm-hmm.
And this has got to be, to me, one of the puzzling releases that WWE has done this year. And they have released some big names from...
Do you know why they released them? You want to know what their reason was?
What was their reason?
Budget cuts.
But once again, really, budget cuts, because that's what... You know what? Vince McMahon has given Nick Khan a shitload of power since taking over the presidency of WWE. And it's like, if he, on these conference calls, they don't want to go over no redlining, and they want to cut costs at anywhere. And you mean to tell me that Bray Wyatt, the one that's making y'all one of the most amount of money in the company, is who y'all want to cut?
I mean, look, they could take Kona Reeves, Eva Marie, Otis, sorry to say. Who else they could take? Dewdrop, I don't know. They could take all these people and release them and had an equal amount. I don't know. Because if you're not going to use him as a wrestler, if you're not going to use him as a wrestler, at least use him as a creative mind or something fresh as a creative. If not as a wrestler, if you don't like, if he's big or whatever.
Yeah.
But
No. I mean, I agree with you, because Bray Wyatt has some of the most creative minds in there. And I want to take a walk down the reason why I say this, because, see, Bray Wyatt, I think, doesn't get the credit he deserves, and it's not his fault all the time. WWE is his fault. Because here's the thing, we all remember Husky Harris, right?
Mm-hmm.
And those who remember, everybody knows Bray Wyatt and Bo Dallas are brothers, and their dad was IRS, the Rotunda kids. So when Husky Harris didn't work,
oh my God, bro! I think I know what you're about to say. I just remember it. Now, keep going.
I'm probably not gonna say what you're about to say. I'm going down the history of Bray Wyatt. So what was you about to say?
Right. I'll let you finish. I'll say that.
So he goes and creates this cult-like gimmick in NXT with him, Luke Harper, and Eric Rowan, and they become the Wyatt family. And the thing gets over in NXT. So you never know how NXT actually going to do in the main roster. I mean, i.e., a lot of them. Tyler Breeze comes to mind first. And what happened was they gravitated at the end of 2013, beginning of 2014. Bray Wyatt was catching some mad fire, especially after the Ring of Fire match with Kane when he first arrived at SummerSlam. They said SummerSlam was like Bray Wyatt's month, especially in August. And then he started catching fire with his Wyatt family thing. Then remember the whole beginning of 2014 with the Daniel Wyatt stuff.
Yep.
Remember they actually, because it began like around Survivor Series or TLC, whatever the case may be. I remember that Daniel Bryan had to do a 1-on-3 match with the Wyatt family, and CM Punk had to do a 1-on-3 match with the Shield. I remember these matches, and Bray Wyatt and Daniel Bryan had a storyline where they had him join the Wyatt family, and I remember that steel cage match on Monday Night Raw with him and the Usos, and Daniel Bryan don't remember it because he was concussed, but he turns on the Wyatt family. This is when like the yes chance started getting like really fucking over, and he destroys Bray Wyatt inside that cage, and he's on top of the cage doing the yes, and you can just see the sea of everybody doing the yes chant. Was one of the better moments of Raw history. Then they actually had a good match where some people still credit that this was Bray Wyatt's best singles match in WWE, was him versus Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble 2014.
Yep. They also said that was his best Fiend match as well. But you know.
Okay, yeah. So, with that being said, oh, that's right. The strap match they had. So, with that being said, then all of a sudden, they was like, well, this guy's getting over. We got to put him in a high profile. And they stuck him with Cena. Now, it's 2014. Okay, Cena's not done. But the way Bray Wyatt was being booked before the Cena match happened, he was just in an inferno. The shit that they was doing with Cena, it was like, yo, this guy may be the new Undertaker. When Undertaker finds him down, we probably still have another dark character. And then he lost. He lost to Cena. They gave him a terrible win over Cena in Extreme Rules in that steel cage match. And then Cena literally...
Oh, God.
Remember that? Steel cage match? Yep. And the kid came out, he got the whole world. I was like, that kid is creepy. Then, remember in the Payback, he had the last man standing match with Bray Wyatt, and he literally buried Bray Wyatt. And Bray Wyatt has not been the same yet. He had all these rivalries, these big time rivalries.
This is what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Remember, people used to even make this joke before he turned into the Fiend. He was on this run of just doing his gimmick of getting you hyped for the match and then actually losing the feud.
Yeah, people. My man Sound Monster called him the eater of pins.
Yes, because it was like he would do all this stuff. He would get you excited for the match, and then like after he lost to Cena, people was like, okay, he's gonna bounce back now. Then he lost to somebody. He's like, okay, he's gonna bounce back. Then he lost to somebody else. Okay, well maybe he'll bounce back. Then he lost to Taker. Lost to Cena again in a feud. Yeah. So it's like he got beat up by The Rock, even though it's The Rock, but still, Yeah. Newer talent doesn't matter, I guess. To where he's just always just losing, and then finally he won the championship, but it still is like he lost to Randy in the feud.
Exactly.
Lost to Randy again in the feud.
Like they just gave all these big things. He even lost to Ambrose a couple times. So all these things that they gave him, he was losing. Now the last time the Wyatt family really got hot was Elimination Chamber, 2014. Wyatt family versus Shield. Remember that matchup?
Yep.
They was chanting, "This is awesome" before they even touched, because at that time, that's how you book two great stables. The Shield was the heel stable at the time, so was the Wyatt family. But when they finally came face to face, it was like, "Yo, I want to see how this thing goes down." That's how they don't know how to book groups anymore. To make you like to stick with them and make you like them. Like I really thought that was going to be the way the Hurt Business was going to be. And to the point, it's kind of like how when the Street Profits and the New Day met at Survivor Series, it was like, oh, this is going to be a big deal because of how they were. Because the Street Profits and the New Day, you want to see them finally go at it, and they had a decent match. Street Profits and New Day was not nowhere near on the level of the Shield and the Wyatt family.
But yeah, I think the secondary Shield versus Wyatt family was Shield versus New Day at Survivor Series one of them years.
Yeah, now that was good. I thought the match could have been better.
Well, yeah, but you know.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but just to have the Shield versus the New Day was just like, yo, that's just fucking perfect right there. So and don't get me wrong, y'all, it was a good match, but I think I think WWE kind of like rushed it because they already had a loaded card as it was, and I don't think they wanted to Shield the New Day, which they could have steal the show away from John Cena and Roman Reigns. That was the reason. Because they put them on first.
Of course. You can't overshadow Cena.
And so I was like, okay, y'all really could have gave him an extra 5-7 minutes in this matchup, and this joint could have been something crazy, but you ain't want him to overshine anybody because you don't want. That's just the way Vince books his show. So unfortunately, they just don't let the shit happen. But anyway, that's either here or there. So yes, they actually put out a YouTube video of him just talking about his rivalry and then just losing the matchup, and it wasn't even fair. Even the Undertaker rivalry, where he had to do all this shit by himself because Undertaker wasn't there. And then you thought he would get the win over the Undertaker, but no. After Undertaker lost to Lesnar the year before, when Lesnar broke that streak, Wyatt couldn't be the one to take the Undertaker stuff out the way, so Wyatt just lost. And so then it seemed like Wyatt had another rebuilding when it came to adding Braun Strowman. Well, actually, no. Before Braun Strowman comes, that whole story of Randy Orton and the Wyatt storyline, I thought the storyline was great. Just the match sucked. That whole Orton joke, because first of all, that should have been the Luke Harper moment. Remember, Luke Harper never trusted Randy Orton joining the Wyatt family.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a triple threat until Vince was like, "Get that man out of here."
Exactly. I was like, why wasn't it a triple threat match at WrestleMania? And that could have been a way better match than the fucking shit we got with Orton and Wyatt.
Well, and then I don't even think it was supposed to be a quote unquote title match. Well, actually, no. Let me rephrase that. I think it still could have been a title match, or it didn't even have to win the Rumble to even do all that. To have them have that is the reason why they broke up, but they still did anyway.
Exactly. It did not need to happen. But they did.
That's supposed to be Jericho's Rumble, by the way.
Oh, yes, the 61-minute man. I remember that Rumble where he won, but you know why? Because I picked Jericho's number to win the Royal Rumble bet, and I didn't win it. Trust me, I remember that Rumble too well.
Yes, because that was the year he was supposed to win and turn on KO.
Exactly.
But they were actually closer friends back then, while Orton and Wyatt was kind of like breaking up already.
Yeah.
This is why it made me more upset, because Orton won it. Orton was like, "Nah, I'm not going to fight Bray." So then they had this whole tournament. AJ and Luke Harper came down to the winners, and then AJ won, and then Orton was like, "Oh yeah, I want to challenge Bray now." Then AJ just got kicked to the curb. I'm like,
they botched that whole storyline, and they just botched so much shit, and it sucked that Wyatt had to be, had to be stuck with that. So then it seemed like they was trying to go a different direction with Bray Wyatt, and they brought in the Braun Strowman character, the Black Sheep. And then we had the Wyatt family having like the kind of the stable of the four people, like the Four Horsemen style thing, the upside down four, and then they start taking out Undertaker and Kane, and you figure like, okay, this is the time we can get Bray Wyatt actually back up in the thing, because the whole storyline of them attacking Undertaker and Kane for the 25th anniversary of Undertaker at Survivor Series, and remember they was dragging the bodies of Kane and Undertaker back to wherever their Wyatt compound was and stuff like that. But no,
you mean drag them backstage and leave them? Because
exactly.
They definitely didn't answer those questions.
And then what happened? It wasn't. They get squashed at Survivor Series, and it wasn't. It was only two members of the Wyatt family versus the Undertaker Kane. Why couldn't it have been all four? Why couldn't it have been all four? It didn't make sense. They dropped the ball with that. They dropped the ball with the whole New Day taking on the Wyatt family at the Wyatt compound. They dropped the ball on that. which they was trying to copy off of Matt Hardy and Impact. They tried to say they wasn't, but they were, and especially when they did the final deletion stuff. And Bray Wyatt never got a chance. So then what happens? Bray Wyatt, Matt Hardy comes to WWE. They try to give him that ultimate deletion match between Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy, which does not happen at WrestleMania. It happens on Raw because Vince don't like it. And Bray Wyatt comes. He becomes a tag team with Matt Hardy. That goes nowhere. So then, what does he have to do? He has to reinvent himself again. And that's when we get The Fiend. That's when we get the whole puppets in the vignettes. We don't know what's happening. And then we see, like, Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt, and he's just been doing... It's like, yo, it makes sense as a character. Like, this guy has finally snapped. He lost his shit. But they decide to turn into some mythical kind of creature. Why? It was like, why couldn't this be... a guy? I think that's what the way Bray Wyatt went, because the Fiend is all his idea. And at first, it took a while for people to get behind it, but he made it work. Because it was like, yo, the Firefly Funhouse, it's like a creepy kid show with so many hidden. It's kind of like the "Don't Touch Me, I'm Scared" videos. You ever watch those?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Do yourself a favor. There's these videos that I actually did react to. You can check my reaction out on the Fat React Nostalgia, where it's called "Don't Touch Me, I'm Scared." It has like these Sesame Street style Muppets in there, and each video starts off with like a different theme, and as the video goes on, it just gets creepier and creepier and creepier. And
I can imagine.
And yeah, and it has so many like callbacks and stuff, but it has like these Sesame Street style Muppets in there. And that's what this reminded me of. Like, it starts off very peaceful for kids, and then it's like, yo, this is like some underlining sinister shit that's happening right now. So do us a favor, go check out Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. That's what it's called. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. And then when he introduced the Fiend at SummerSlam against Finn Balor, he came out with a new lantern, and that mat, yo, it was like Twisted Metal Sweet Tooth, and killed Bray Wyatt, and it was great. It was like, yo, the Fiend is here. And what did they do? They found a way.
Well, they found a way, all right.
They found a way to this guy who had a great character. They found a way to... They found a way. But you know what? They kind of messed up the Fiend before that, though.
Well, yeah, because honestly, it took them a while to recover from the Seth thing.
Because I was about to say, because the Hell in a Cell, I think they first of all they put him in that. Hell in a Cell was about 2 months after SummerSlam, and he just debuted. So they put him in a title shot. Like, why would he? He shouldn't be in a title picture right now. But they booked themselves into a wall, and then they've had the Seth Rollins and stuff like in Hell in a Cell match. Sean Waltman was doing the live reaction. He was like, "What the fuck was that?"
Exactly. He was like, "Y'all ain't gonna invite me to one of these again." But how do you get disqualified in a no disqualification?
It's your match. How that was the first of 3.
Hey, check up. He's never been back.
He has never been back at all. Because I mean, yeah, no, you can't do. The way he tried to finish that match, but then afterwards, the Fiend gets back up and destroys Seth Rollins. No, they already in 2 months sucked out the Fiend's momentum, and then we get Saudi Arabia, where they decide to give him the championship. And then the next Saudi Arabia, he loses the championship off a suplex. Yes, from Goldberg, one of my favorites. He get a spear. It gave him a suplex in under 3 minutes. They killed the Fiend. They sucked.
The Fiend is supposed to be this Undertaker, like the second coming of the Undertaker. He loses to 60-year-old Goldberg in 3 minutes. Woo! That's sure gonna put the.
But you can't kill him in Hell in a Cell.
See, kids, that's what you call putting them over.
Exactly. So then, that was
See,
the
kids,
Fiend.
that's what you call putting young talent over.
Then it was the last straw. Randy Orton burnt the Fiend in, which was, I think, the greatest Inferno match he ever did in WWE history. Of Randy Orton versus the Fiend at TLC. He burns the Fiend. He comes back burnt and crispy, and comes back at WrestleMania to lose to by RKO. And what did they do? To top the disrespect, they give his work, his character, his gimmick over to Alexa Bliss and say, here, just take this gimmick and run with it. And then they fired him.
I always thought he was going to come back and they were going to have some type of confrontation, but no, nothing came up of it.
Nothing came of that shit worth a damn. Nothing. They gave it to Alexa Bliss. First of all, I'm done with... Look, Alexa Bliss, I'm going to say this right now. Alexa Bliss has done a great job in the role. She's doing what she's told. And she is doing a great job in the role. But I'm over the Alexa Bliss shit. And I'm damn sure over Lily.
Quick question. I don't know how this might sound. Is it bad that I want her to go back to the goddess gimmick so that she could wear her attire again?
No, you know what? No, because I don't look at it as sexist at all. I'm just saying right now, this whole Fiend bullshit with Alexa Bliss, it's forgive me, everybody, but it's not convincing. And when I say that, is Alexa Bliss is probably one of the smallest women on that roster. Smallest. So then when she uses her powers for like these legit fighters out there, like I would hate to see her do the shit with Ronda Rousey. Don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I hate to see
she already did with Shayna.
That's what I'm saying. I hate seeing doing stuff like that with Shayna Baszler. Like that stuff. It'd be different if.
And sorry, what you saying?
No, I'm just saying it'd be. I don't know. Maybe if a different woman was holding, the mantle, but it's just like even with the Money in the Bank, when they bury her with all the ladders, I'm just like, y'all built to nothing.
Yeah. Also, if she has powers, why doesn't she just do a "you die now win" match? Why don't she just make them close their eyes for 4 seconds so she can pin them for 3? They wake up after this,
Like
if she got quote unquote mind control and all that kind of stuff, why not just make them lay down on the ground? If you can make somebody slap somebody else, you can make them lay down for a pinfall. That's all I'm saying.
That once again, they just taken this Fiend character and they demolished it and they gave it to somebody else and they fired him. So my girl, Mickie James Aldis, I love her.
Mickie James.
Yes,
the single Mickie James without a husband.
Oh, well, I said Mickie James Aldis.
The single Mickie James without a husband that still looks good.
Okay. So she writes this tweet, and I agree with her wholeheartedly. She says, "I think what you meant to say was, thank you so much for coming up with such an incredible gimmick. In parentheses, time and time again." One so cool and over, we really didn't know how to book it right. So we just gave it to someone else so we can still make all the money off of it and let you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she said. And she didn't give a fuck how they felt about it. And she later came out and said...
Mickie is never come... I won't be surprised if Mickie is never in the Hall of Fame because I don't think she's ever going back, honestly.
I feel you. I really do feel you on that one. She comes and she's just like, she also comes back and says, look, this is not nothing against Alexa Bliss. I love Alexa Bliss. I've worked with Alexa Bliss and she's giving it her all, and that's what we do. We take a project and we give it to her all. I'm just saying what the circumstances were of them just giving the Fiend character to Alexa Bliss and she's just doing what she can with it. It's not her fault. And I don't want nobody, because wrestling fans are stupid. I don't want them coming at her and say it's her fault why the Fiend is fired. It's not her fault. It's their fault for not knowing that they have something great on their hands. And before, everybody just says, hey, he's jumping AEW. No, that's not the answer all the time. Bray don't...
No, I don't want that. I don't think he wrestles, to be honest with you.
I mean, after a while, because he could be done with wrestling. But here's the thing. people gotta understand. Every time somebody gets fired from WWE, you can't just say go to AEW because then you're going to turn to WCW, which you're going to start getting WWE fatigue.
I think that Bray would go to wrestle. I don't think he would go to a wrestle. I think he'd go to like a company to be like a creative or something like that. But I don't think he will wrestle. That makes sense.
To be honest with you, one thing I can only see is like if he was to go to AEW, right? I would think the only thing that would be good for him is to take over and revamp the Dark Order.
That's a lot of people saying because he's like the basically, you know.
And I'm like, he was close to Brody. Now, I'm not saying he don't want to do that. He may be like, no, this was Brody's group. I'm going to leave it alone. But here's what the thing. The Dark Order's... This is why the Dark Order sucks to me. Okay? I know I make the joke every week on the Wednesday Night War talking about the Dark Order sucks because Christopher Daniels said it. But no, seriously. They suck because, one, now their faces, now that they're silly. And first of all, none of their costumes look threatening or scary at all. Evil Uno looks like a dominatrix. Like he just came out of like a sex camp.
I think they're not supposed to look scary.
But I'm saying if you're gonna be something called the Dark Order or have this kind of cult type thing, I think you can make them more sinister, more evil, and you can turn. Huh?
That's not happening. I'm telling you right now.
Look, it's probably.
I don't think they would turn if they still have John Silver and 10. I don't think they would turn because yeah, they are too over by their millions of YouTube fans to do that. I think that's why they're still prominently on AEW. To be completely honest, because being the Elite, they are like it's like their show, so they're just like as goofy as silly as they want to be, and then they bring that silliness over to TV. So yeah. They built the fan base just off being the Elite.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm saying, but if that's where Tony Khan wants to interview him, and that's where he wants to go, I'm like, okay, credit to him. But I don't think AEW is the answer. But I really think this was not a smart move by WWE. Vince is being probably arrogant in his feelings, and then they let this guy go. But I'm like, this is a creative mind and a huge character that you really could have had if you booked it right. And give it to Alexa Bliss. I'm sorry. It's not... I'm over Lily. I'm over... The thing is, Bray Wyatt made me care about... who was the rabbit that kept getting killed every week?
Rambling Rabbit?
Rambling Rabbit. I liked his art, but this whole Lily the Doll thing, I'm over it. The Fiend never went into the ring and brainwashed people. The Fiend never went into the ring and had all this, like, it was cool. I understand when Undertaker and Kane did it, and it's always cool to use it sometimes, but when they have Alexa Bliss doing this shit all the time, and then she turns like Dark Alexa, and nobody can beat her, and then, she's just so great, and nobody can tell. I'm like, yo, get the fuck out of here, yo. I'm over this shit. Because it won't be consistent. Like, if that's the case, why don't you just turn to Dark Alexa and win the Money in the Bank? Oh, you can't because there's fans there. Obviously, you can't record like you want to. So it's time to just end the gimmick. I want her to go back. I want her and Nikki Cross to go back to how they were. That's what I want. Because I thought if they were going to give the championship to Nikki Cross, I thought there would probably be a Nikki Cross versus like Alexa Bliss match at SummerSlam for the championship. As her the superhero now, and then her as the dark villain. Nope, that's not happening either. So I'm just like, okay, sure. But final thoughts on the Bray Wyatt thing. I just think it was very
It's a bad decision. It's a bad decision by creative. That's all I was saying.
It really is. And it's
sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I just really hope he uses his mind for creativeness, like just to be creative. That's all. I don't care if he wrestles again. I just want him to be creative and show what he can truly do with gimmicks. That's all.
Yes, I want him to be creative, and I also want him to just be. If he wants to go back and wrestle too, I want him to have the opportunity to show us what he can do.